Hey everyone, it is Rob Ryder again. Today, city the size of North America. Did you know there is one? I believe there is. And the Church of Three Councils, which would be the first three ecumenical councils before we started to go through all the problems that Christians have today. What is the real church? At one time there was just one church. So the first split didn't happen until after the first three ecumenical councils. And on those three, up until that point, everybody agreed. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But also, hearing to determine if attorney engaged in the deprivation of rights under color of law in violation of 18 U.S.C. 242 and being in contempt of court. It's scheduled for 16 August 2017, Kalamazoo, Michigan. In a federal court, there will be a hearing to determine if an attorney for the plaintiff is in contempt of court and violation of 18 U.S.C. 242. So let it be written, so let it be done. And, but more, what can you do with an authenticated certificate of baptism? The quest to become a fundamental interest of the Holy See and share in its patrimony as a member of the Apostolic See. Because the laity, well, we're the apostles. The church, they're the clerks. They're supposed to see to our needs so that we can preach the word far and wide in the world and live by example. Okay, so, and beyond that, to be acknowledged by church and state, reborn a new creature. So basically, I'm trying to get my baptismal certificate that was authenticated by the Apostolic Nunciature, I think it is, Nunciature. Now, so that's the church. Now I want to get it authenticated or acknowledged by the state as a vital record. And that's my attempt. We'll see what happens. And so, Rob Ryder, my email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. That's courtofrecord@aol.com. No S's on the court or records, just courtofrecord@aol.com. My phone number is 616-712-6179. And if that's the preferred method of contacting me is by my email address. If you put something in the comment of a video, I'm not going to respond. I don't read them. Right? I don't read any of that stuff. You want to talk to me, I got an email address, courtofrecord@aol.com. If you really had to, you could call me. But after a bit, I just got to quit answering the phone because, well, there's only so many hours in a day. Donate, please, to help keep the lights on. I ask every time I do a video because, hey, I got the same problem every month. I got to keep these lights on. And my daughter's PayPal account is what I use. If you want to use PayPal, her account name is her email address. You don't need to email her. You go to PayPal and you put this in as the account. AshleyRytlewski@gmail.com. AshleyRytlewski@gmail.com. Or you can put it in the mail. Robert Rytlewski, Rytlewski, 10955, 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. To be quite honest, I prefer cash. I don't think anybody's ever had any problem sending me any. It always seems to get here. I don't mess with the mail. Sunday, 13 August 2017. Hey, that would make this a Fatima day. There were 6 13ths of the month back in 1917. Is that what it was? Yeah, because it's a 100-year anniversary. Absolutely. Where the Virgin Mary appeared to these 3 small children in Portugal. And, well, this would be one of them. And it's a 100-year anniversary of these events. There's stuff happening in the world. Okay, let's take a look at first. Let's go look at the court case and get that. because I don't have a lot to say on other than say, well, it's happening. But I am going to say this the first thing. This has to do with the patrimony of the Holy See and being its fundamental interest, because the Holy See did an apostolic letter issued motu proprio by the Supreme Pontiff Francis on the jurisdiction of judicial authorities of Vatican City, state, and criminal matters. And this is what he did back in 2013 that all of a sudden raised up again to people that, hey, he did something to release the funds and Sesta KV Act and so forth. And well, this doesn't say anything about that. It does say interesting things, but it doesn't, specifically say this for the Sesta KV Act. So you could read into it as you please, or you could just read it for what it says, and I would prefer to do that. And it says, where should we start? We'll just go right here. The competent judicial authorities of Vatican City state shall also exercise penal jurisdiction over crimes committed against the security, the fundamental interest, or the patrimony of the Holy See. So, what would the fundamental interest of the Holy See be? I'm going to say it's this, right? To help the souls get to heaven. So, I'm trying to do that. I'm a fundamental interest. I want the Holy See to know I'm trying to get to heaven. I'm doing my best out here in the world. All right, I need a little protection because I find myself in a system run under Old Testament law, Talmudic law, governed by the Noahide laws. And, in their system, I'm a Gentile. Because I love Jesus, I'm a blasphemer as far as they're concerned. I said Jesus is the Son of God. I say Jesus is God. They don't like to hear that. They said there is no God but Caesar. It's in the Bible. And so there you go, right? For this reason right here, because I want to be considered a fundamental interest of the Holy See. And if I am, well, then I can share in the patrimony, which is the inheritance left by Jesus Christ that they say that they have jurisdiction over. So I'm not going to argue with them. Say, well, here I am. Right? Give me my inheritance. Well, these people, acknowledge my baptismal certificate. Right? So the Vatican City, right, an international country, well, it's not a country, I guess. We'd have to argue about the definition, and I don't want to, acknowledge my baptismal certificate. Be more on that later. But let's go to, hey, this just happened this week. Where in the United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Michigan, NRE, Linda A. Allen, Linda Ann Allen Bay, Linda A. Allen, and one with an AKA, in some court before John T. Gregg in an adversarial proceeding was put a notice of hearing. RE criminal complaint, docket number 45. Please take notice that a hearing will be held at the United States Bankruptcy Court, Federal Building, U.S. Courthouse, Room 114, 410 W, West Michigan Avenue, Kalamazoo, Michigan 49007, on August 16, 2017 at 11 a.m. to consider and act upon the above referenced matter. Well, what had been referenced? A criminal complaint that apparently now is in docket number 45. Response from the United States trustee, if any, is due by August 11, 2017. Any request is optional. Okay, so what would they have to be responding to? Well, to docket number 45. And then we got the please note. Hey, they got their own legalese on their paperwork. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'll just leave it here if you want to look at it. Stop and read it. What it's basically saying, though, is if they could adjourn this thing and then continue it. But if they adjourn it and continue it, they're not going to send anybody any notice. You need to be watching on Pacer or call the courthouse. Right? So, I mean, this could be the setup for shenanigans. I don't know. I'm just saying A lady got in the mail a notice from the bankruptcy court that there's going to be a hearing on her criminal complaint that we filed into her court case. Now, on the other side of this piece of paper, so you can see right through it, right? It's like, hey, this was folded, so this was folded, and then this was in the window of the envelope. But it came from Bankruptcy Noticing Center. So it's like, well, how come this came from a bankruptcy noticing center, and most mail doesn't come that way that has to do with your court cases, right? This came from the court. And as Linda told me, she just got mail again, like the third time in this case, where she's gotten stuff sent to her by UPS. Well, that's not the United States mail, right? It came by UPS. And the last thing she got was that they're numbered pages at the bottom, and there's one page missing. It's 1 through 4, and page 3 is missing. Sent in an envelope from UPS. Supposed to be something to do with this court case, but it doesn't have a file stamp on it. So anyways, this is the notice that the bankruptcy court sent to Linda. And basically, what they're talking about is this, that in this case, 16-08283-JTG, docket 45, filed the 7th. Man, 7/31 was a busy day. That's the day the nuncio wrote me. Wow. What a busy day. This criminal complaint. This is the old AO 91 form that you're supposed to use for criminal matters. Filed 2017, July 31st, AM, 11.12. Right? Time stamped. And so when we were doing this, when we were getting ready to do this, I told Linda, I said, well, here's the form, but I don't like United States of America. I think that's King George's jurisdiction. And if you were to read the first chapter of the Treaty of Paris, Treaty of Peace, 1783, just after the Revolutionary War, where King George is talking about himself, or they're talking about King George, it says in there that he's the king, and it goes through all these things, and one of them is United States of America, where the United States of America, with the T capitalized and part of the proper name, is the way you will find in the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. Article 1, the style of this confederacy shall be the United States of America. So the United States of America, not Linda, right? The United States of America is bringing a hearing or asking for a hearing in a matter to do with a guy named Dean E. Rittenberg with his registration number. Well, why would we have a problem with somebody called Dean E. Rittenberg, registered with apparently the Michigan State Bar as P38872? Let's find out why. I, the complainant in this case, so before we go any further, probably what we should have done is put XREL Linda, and she should have put her name on here. Right? The United States of America, XREL, your name. Because you're the relator for the United States of America. So I, the complainant in this case, state that the following is true to the best of my knowledge and belief. Well, you can read it yourself. What did we say? I just picked one at the time. So let's just say it's contempt of court. 18 U.S.C. 401, power of the court. The court of the United States shall have power to punish by fine or imprisonment or both at its discretion such contempt of its authority and none other as misbehavior of any person in the presence or so thereto as to obstruct the administration of justice. Well, I'd say he's doing that. Misbehavior of its officers in their official transactions. Well, I would say he's doing that. Disobedience or resistance to lawful writ, process, order, rule, decree, or command. Well, we'll see what he does on the 16th, which is Wednesday. This criminal complaint is based on these facts. The individual, using the false identity Dean E. Rittenberg, claiming to be prosecuting this matter for a plaintiff, having no legal standing, is using an unauthorized process in a court of an improper venue, depriving me of rights under color of law in violation of 18 U.S.C. 242. and is in contempt of court. A more extensive affidavit of facts is attached. Now, look at this. The notary actually put her seal on the complaint. Because that's got this thing for judge's signature and stuff, and normally they don't do that. But thank you, notary. She actually, because she is a judge. Boom. She's an official witness. That's all this other dude would be anyways, is an official witness. Thank you very much. I didn't know we were going to get that. I thought it would go in without it. And so we would do the affidavit with the facts. But a notary did it. There it is. So what is that affidavit of facts? Hey, this was filed also. I, Linda Ann Allen Bay, affirm that I truly believe that the style of name Dean E. Rittenberg is not the style of the name of any attorney admitted to practice in this state. The style name Dean Edward Rittenberg is admitted to practice in this state of Michigan, not Dean E. Rittenberg. I ask this court to order individual using Dean E. Rittenberg as identification to enter his certificate of admission for the state in the official record of this proceeding for a judicial determination. Well, since then, we decided we might do it ourselves because Linda went down and got it. And here is Dean Edward Rittenberg, who the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan has said, according to its records, that Dean Edward Rittenberg was admitted to the practice of law in the courts of the state of Michigan on, way back in 1986. He's been at it a long time. In testimony whereof, I have set my hand to fix the seal of the Michigan Supreme Court, this date. And hey, that would be an impressed seal of the state of Michigan Supreme Court. Seal of the Michigan Supreme Court. Let's just call it what it is. And so Dean Edward Rittenberg, heck, he can practice. No problem with him, but that ain't the name that was on the paper. As well, I don't have it right now, but we could see that, there are papers. We'll see. Where he's using this fictitious legal fiction pseudonym, John Doe, a.k.a. take your pick. The United States trustee is not a plaintiff with legal standing in this matter. Only the sovereign can allege a violation of its laws in its own name. Right? The United States of America. If these people thought that Linda had broken the law, because this is an adversarial hearing, which is common law, which means, hey, you're actually in the Article 3 court. Well, then, it shouldn't have been the United States trustee as the plaintiff. It should have been the United States of America. It would have been a crime. But they brought it as United States trustee. The individual using the false identification, Dean E. Rittenberg, has filed documents under color law in this matter using the name of at least two different courts. United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Michigan, and United States Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Michigan. They ain't the same. It ain't the same. It's two different courts. My understanding is that District Court of the United States Bankruptcy Division is the proper court for bankruptcy hearings, which is correct. Bankruptcy is just a division of the District Court of the United States. It's not a separate court. At least one of these courts is a court of an improper venue. So I can't say which one's right, but I can say, well, at least one is wrong. Now, they both could be wrong. But they ain't right. On some date, 5/18/2017, Dean E. Rittenberg simulated a legal process subpoena to testify at a deposition in a bankruptcy case or adverse proceeding to a legal fiction, Jane Doe, a.k.a. Linda A. Allen, and should be, attempting to coerce my accepting this abomination as my identification in a legal matter, requiring the use of full legal names. That's why it's called a legal name. You got to use it in legal matters. Dean's got one, and so does Linda, and so do you. You don't have a middle initial name. Don't let them give it to you. Don't let them put your name backwards. Don't let them put it in uppercase. So if you're talking to me, the living man, my name's Robert Allen Ritluski. As stated on uslegal.com, according to 6 CFR 37.3, which is a Homeland Security Title 6, Chapter 1, hey, you know what? This would be out of the Well, this is CFRs, Code of Federal Regulations. Geez, I wonder if those are laws. Department of Homeland Security, Office of the Secretary, Part 37, Real ID, Driver's License, and Identification Cards, Subpart A, General. Full legal name means an individual's first name, middle name, S, and last name or surname without use of initials or nicknames. Well, let's see. What did Dean do? Dean E. Rittenberg. Do you think his middle name is E, or would you believe that's probably a middle initial? Oh, hey, we just saw he does have a middle name. He can practice in that name in the courts of Michigan, but he ain't using it today. These entire proceedings are an attempt to seize my private property without due process. I am the sole proprietor of Linda Ann Allen, and the real party and interest to the Social Security account under the Social Security account number. Sorry, Linda, I didn't blank it out, but I couldn't believe it either. They didn't blank it out. They put it on. It's in your frickin' record. You swore to it. I asked that the District Court of the United States inquire into this matter. Who? District Court of the United States. Inquire into this matter and make a judicial determination of my rights, titles, and interests into the property in dispute, discharge any debts, then return to me what is mine for my exclusive use and enjoyment. Amen. Right, only the Article 3 court can permanently take your property away from you. And you've never been to one. And they can determine your rights, titles, and interests. That would be equity. And so unfortunately, next time we're going to have to make this smaller because I'd like to get it all on one piece of paper. I don't like to do this. I don't like to have the jurats separate. Right? I want everything on the same piece of paper. But okay, but hey, jurats on there. And so here's some paperwork this guy has filed. Right, document production requirements attached to United States trustee subpoena to testify at deposition and adversary proceeding. NRE. Look at these names and see they got sick behind here. That means they're admitting this isn't a proper frickin' name. Just go, put in brackets with SIC in it and Google and read the definitions. Right? That's not a proper name. And it's being acknowledged it's not a proper name. And yet, that's the name of the defendant. So that isn't her full legal name. And in here, why did I put this in? Oh, well, because there he is, Dean E. Rittenberg. Right? Pretending to be a trial attorney, Office of U.S. Trustee. Well, Dean E., you don't have a license P3882 or 72 in that name. Subpoena to testify at deposition, right? Defendant, fictitious name. Plaintiff, United States trustee. No, it's the United States of America. Maybe through its trustee, but the plaintiff is the United States of America. It's its laws that are being violated, not the United States trustees. Place of hearing, Office of the U.S. trustee, not United States. And so if you were to look at the stuff, you'd see sometimes they say United States trustee, sometimes they say U.S. and they'll say it in the same writing, right? So that's like, well, they must be different things. It's not like they're afraid of using letters. They write forever. No, they're two different entities. U.S. is not the same as United States. It's an acronym. So when you see these names and then see an acronym after it in parentheses, say, okay, these are two different venues. One is the de jure. The other one is an agency that wants to be between you and the de jure. They want to be your agent. And so this is, this is the letter, Dear Linda Lane. So how she did this, United States District Court, United States Bankruptcy Court. Okay, Linda Lane. So the way we did this is Linda had a hearing before with the judge, or in this hearing for this bankruptcy. And she had asked the judge, how do I get something before you so that you see it? And the judge says, well, you need to give it to my clerk, secretary, recorder, whoever it was, person sitting there next to the judge in the courtroom, and then that person, and then they'll give it to me. And he said, don't put it in the clerk's file. I'll not see it. Right? Don't just file it in the clerk's office. You need to send it to this recorder. So Linda said, well, do I need to do it now? He said, well, you can do it now or you can mail it to her. He said, but whatever you give her, make sure you tell the court what it is you want it to do. And so at that time, Linda said, okay, well, let's rethink this a little bit. And she had the hearing, came back, and we talked. Says, okay, well, let's just do what the judge said. And so we modified what she already had for the complaint we were going to put in to include a better description of what we wanted for a remedy. And then she mailed it to United States District Court, United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Michigan, Linda Lane. Now, this could have said official recorder because really that's who she is. And if you, I won't have time to get it right now, but in the manual for official recorders for the federal courts, it pretty much says there's only a few of them, and they're the official recorders. And it's their duty for this to take these exhibits and so forth and have them made part of the court case. So we will find out, because this doesn't have an exhibit sticker on it, but it is in the docket, and we got to notice that there's going to be a hearing, and we'll just see if they're going to lie, cheat, and steal out of this too. But if you didn't think you could get them to, file an AO 91 form, because I've tried to file one of these before with the court, and they told me I couldn't do it. I mailed it to the court. They said they had a hearing before a magistrate judge, apparently, who said, it had to come from an attorney of the United States. Okay, well, I'm going to say that it did. Now, this time, and so I'm thinking if you just had a criminal complaint, you wouldn't have to have a court case. You just need to send it to the official recorder. Because this is just something happening in a court case, but all she did is she sent it to the official recorder of a judge to have them make a determination on a criminal complaint. And the dudes decided to have a hearing. Right? Show cause hearing. For lack of a better term, that's what's going on. We're having a show cause hearing. And what did Linda ask for? These entire proceedings are an attempt to seize my private property without due process. I am the sole proprietor of Linda Ann Allen. Well, I've proved that because I just got a business license here. I showed my last video from the state of Michigan. They say I own that sole proprietorship. And the real party in interest to the Social Security account under Social Security account number, yeah, that's her property too. Yes, that's Linda's. Stay away from it. I asked the District Court of the United States to inquire into this matter and make a judicial determination of my rights, titles, and interest into the property. Well, how could they do that? Because they have jurisdiction and equity. They can cut the Gordian knot. And whatever it was yesterday doesn't have to be today. Just make sure the books balance by 6 or no later than midnight. Discharge any debts and then return to me what is mine for the exclusive use of the enjoyment. Because that's what's supposed to happen in bankruptcy. In bankruptcy, it isn't that you're broke, it's you won't pay your freaking bills. If you were insolvent, you would be broke. So because you won't pay your bills, the court's going to take your property, they're going to liquidate it, turn it to cash, and pay off the creditors. Well, when they're done, whatever's left, they're supposed to give to you. So if they liquidated Linda's Social Security account and then paid off the claimants, whoever they may be, and that's been done, then whatever's left is Linda's. Right? So, hey, just, go ahead, put it in my account. It's already been liquidated. Now it's in cash. Give me my property. It's a beautiful day. And we had a couple other pieces of paper. Deprivation of rights. How did we do this? What did she do? She said, she mailed this to the judge. I have to find out she mailed this to the judge. Because this was earlier, July 20th, 2017. We're talking about something that happened 11 days later. So we had sent this before that. Notice of deprivation of rights under color of law, prosecution in improper venue, cases, da 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 da. I, real party and interest, petition the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Michigan to discharge these cases and any other incorporated by reference. I believe the plaintiff's attorney record is an officer of the court who is prosecuting this matter in an improper venue for a plaintiff using a false identity against Linda Ann Allen Bay, defendant, causing the deprivation of my rights under color of law. Absolutely. I believe the plaintiff's attorney of record is in contempt of court, violating the Constitution of the United States, 18 U.S.C. 242, and the law of God. I ask the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Michigan to discharge and provide me complete legal and equitable relief the court deems just. I include with this position a common copy of the summons and complaint that evidences the different names of courts for different venues and ask they be identified as exhibits of evidence in the official court record. I read the foregoing petition, blah, 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 blah. Put that in there. And that was that. Okay, so that's where we are today, right? There'll be a hearing unless they've changed the date. And hey, they can do it, so I can't change that. But, all right, they say they can in their little legalese here. But as of the date this thing was set, criminal complaint, docket number 45. United States Bankruptcy Court, Federal Building, U.S. Courthouse, room 114-410 West Michigan Avenue, Kalamazoo, Michigan, 49007, on August 16, 2017 at 11 a.m. If you got free time, maybe you go down there and take a watch. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and regroup. Right back. Okay, we're back. So, next. What can you do with an authenticated certificate of baptism? That would be the quest to become a fundamental interest of the Holy See and share in its patrimony as a member of the Apostolic See. You should look up the definition of the word patrimony. To be acknowledged by church and state, reborn a new creature, right? That's what I'm trying to get done. And what I'm about to talk to you now about, and this here, the city the size of North America, and the Church of Three Councils go together. But we'll get to the city last in this case. I got to go through some other things first. So where do we begin? So here's where we begin. A couple of years ago, I had asked for my certificate of baptism from my parish of my childhood. And they sent me this. And it says certificate of baptism and, Robert Allen Bretluski. And I'll tell you right now, the only document I've ever seen Hang on a second, Johnny. Hello. Oh. Sorry about that. So anyways, Robert Allen Bretluski is the only document I have that has my name the way that I would expect to see it on an official document. Right? Not first name, middle name, last name in boxes or something else. No, all put together. But it has my mom and dad as legal fictions. And you could even go further now taking this. If you go look at your marriage license, look at the way they did it. They created a legal fiction out of the man's name and the wife's name. And the wife is almost always in a middle initial name. They put them across from each other with the word "and" in between. Right? So they create a legal fiction from your names. And that's one of those legal fictions that we may want to capture when we do when you register your sole proprietorship, your name with the State Department of Treasury, which is something I've done also that I've talked about in my last couple of videos, and I don't know if I'll have time to get to it again today. You just have to watch them. But I'm sure that I will talk about it a bit. So, anyways. All right, so this is what I got. Well, I got this thing and said, now what am I going to do with it? And so I was shopping it all over to every place I could think about in the church. All sorts of basilicas, major basilicas, minor basilicas, churches that had cardinal protectors, saying, look, I'm a baptized Christian. I want to be in the Holy See. How come I'm not in your book? How come the only person that knows I'm baptized is me and my parish, right? And then the more I looked at it, over time I come to realize that, well, this says according to the rite of the Roman Catholic Church. It doesn't say anything about the Latin Church on it. And if you were to go look at the Code of Canon Law, the very first canon says it only applies to the Latin Church. It's like, well, then that doesn't apply to me, so what does apply to me? What else is there? Well, there's the Eastern churches. I guess it could be that. But I wasn't sure of that either. I just know I'm not in the Latin Church. We started to complain about that. Wrote all these cardinals again, complaining, hey, how come there's no indication of what church I'm in? Well, in September 2016, Pope Francis came out with another motu proprio that they changed the wording in canon law where now on a certificate it has to annotate what church sui juris you're part of. And there's supposed to be 24 sui juris churches that make up the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church is the sui juris church. Actually, it's above a sui juris church. And the other ones are the 24 sui juris churches that make up the Catholic Church, with the Latin Rite being the Latin Church being the largest. And these other called the Eastern churches. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, enough church history. Anyways, I found out, well, I wasn't getting anywhere with this, and I kind of forgot about it for a bit. And then Rosita got the idea because people had been, sending their birth documents to have them authenticated. And the Pope had said many, many times that your certificate of baptism is your rebirth document, right? You were reborn a new creature, right? So physically, I was born September 5th, 1958. But on the 18th, I was reborn a new creature. So I have a reborn date. And she said, so she had the idea of getting these authenticated by the church. And when she did, so it took a little bit of doing, but she ended up talking to somebody who says, oh, it sounds like what you want to do is have your baptismal certificate legalized. Now, Rosita was from Lithuania, so she was dealing with them overseas. And it was a form that looked like this, where all the data in here was all in uppercase Roman letters, right? No lowercase, just uppercase Latin, uppercase Latin, spelled with, well, whatever kind of letters we use, uppercase Latin. And on the bottom, so now this is hers, right? They had put this seal on the bottom. This is from her parish. Actually, from a provost. And this parish of resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, right? This parish is incorporated. It's a corporation, right? So it has its own identity. Now, parishes in America, we don't have that, at least in the Latin Rite, because it's still considered a mission church. But we're talking old Europe here. We're 1,000-year history of being a Catholic nation. So they were a corporation, are a corporation. Well, that went to the provost, who put that on, who then sent it to the Nunciature Apostolica in Lithuania to have it authenticated. And this was then mailed to Rosita, international mail, that got as far as Chicago, Customs House, and then it disappeared. Or it was stolen. Not really sure yet. She never did get it. But I have to believe there's cameras all over a Customs House, and so somebody saw something and they're just not talking about it. Nevertheless, they've said now what they're going to do is send it again by diplomatic pouch, right? From this embassy to the embassy in the United States, which is the Apostolic Nunciature in Washington, D.C., and then somehow get it to Rosita. And so we're waiting to see how that all plays out. But in my case, I had taken this, and so I had this one for baptism. I had one for Holy Communion. I had one for confirmation. And I sent them all to the nuncio, said, look, I want you to authenticate my stuff, right, and put me in the church. Okay, so that was this style. And this was his reply on 28, 2017. Apostolic Nunciature, United States of America. Now remember this one. This one's United States of America. Dear Mr. Retluski, I am returning herewith the certified copy of sacramental records which you sent to the Nunciature, specifically a record of baptism, first Eucharist, and confirmation. You requested that those records be acknowledged and authenticated by seal and registered in the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church's official registry. I still want you to do it. This is to advise you that there is no provision under church law for any sort of central registry of sacramental records, either here in the U.S., U.S. or at the Holy See. Rather, the ancient practice, customs of the church, and the current church law as well, is that sacramental records are maintained in the parish in which the sacrament was administered, always giving notice to the parish of baptism if that is different from the parish in which subsequent sacrament was received. Further, the proper person to authenticate certificates reflecting the contents of parish sacramental registers is the parish pastor or someone he has delegated for that purpose. With cordial regards and best wishes, I am, sincerely yours in Christ, Archbishop Christopi Pierre, Apostolic Nuncio. And he sent it to Mr. Robert A.M. Retluski, because my middle initial name, that's my middle initial name, but it should be Robert Allen Michael Retluski, because Michael was my confirmation name. And that's the way I'd sent it to him. So he wouldn't put Robert Allen Michael Retluski. He put Robert A. M. Retluski. And, well, it won't take long to find it, I don't think. Let me see. Where? Oh, hang on a second. Okay, and so just to be sure I'm telling the whole story, yeah, okay, it's gone. So what did I do? I said, well, I appeal. Rome is my parish. I appeal to Pope Francis, Robert Allen Michael Retluski. Now, why would I say that? Well, because I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm not a Catholic of Saginaw or Catholic of Grand Rapids. I'm a Roman Catholic. Rome is my parish. And so my parish priest is the Pope. I want him to make a decision. And so I put it all back in an envelope and sent it back to him. I haven't heard from him, but that's, that's neither here nor there. If you're going to do something, we'll do it. So this number should be prefixed to the answer. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to write my answer on the frickin' letter and send it back to you. And this was on bond paper, by the way. So all of that happened. Now, when I was doing this with that paperwork, Rosita said, well, I think you need to get it from your parish. And I said, well, I already have these. You're welcome to send these. If you think I need it from my parish, call my parish and tell them to send it to them. She did. Thank you, Rosita. Right? She called them or emailed them and said, hey, would you send Robert Allen Retluski's paperwork to be legalized? And they answered it and said, yeah, they would. And so they did. And so what came back was, make sure I don't need this one. No, yeah, I got to keep that one first. Was this one, which kind of looks like this one. Except this one has got a seal up here, which came from the Apostolic Nunciature. I just can't read it. And the outside edge is all in Latin. Monsignor Walter Irby, chargé d'affaires, AI, Apostolic Nunciature, 31st July 2017. And he's certifying, so basically he now is certifying that I was baptized. But still, my mom and dad aren't using their proper name. But it says where I was born, date I was born, where I was baptized, according to the right of the Roman Catholic Church. And because this just happened, and this guy signed it and put his seal here, right? So it's been one witness, two witnesses. Let every matter be established by the testimony of two or three witnesses. I got two, right? That I've baptized. But so far, it isn't in the civil registry of the United States. It's like, well, this is a vital record. Now, how do I get it into the vital records of the United States? If the church can do your marriage certificate and give it to the vital record place, well, then they should be able to give this to them. So, these were all thoughts going through my head at the time. But just to show you, there are some differences. So this is Reverend Thomas E. Sutton under his name, and he's on the left-hand side this time. Here he's on the right-hand side, and there is no name or office underneath. And I don't know if this is the same seal or not. I guess I have to look closer. Did he use the... No, look at the edge is different on this seal. That's it. I don't know that it's the same seal, but I'll look closer some other time. No, this has got words right here. See, that's got... Wow, it's got words right there. That are... It just look like it's different to me. I believe it is. Same notations. Okay, here's that seal there. But when they mailed this to me, it came... So this went from my parish to the nunciature, back to the parish, and now they've mailed it to me. But when the parish sent it, they sent it to Robert Allen Michael Ritluski, Christi Fidel, which means I'm a Christian. They agreed. And it came compliments of Apostolic Nunciature in the United States. It didn't say where did it say it was up here? United States of America. All right, that's that one. Got the same looking seal. But it doesn't say Apostolic Nunciature, United States of America. It says compliments of the Apostolic Nunciature in the United States. So the United States, to me, is really the union of the United States of America and United States of America, the Republic, and King George coming to an agreement that we're going to share this land, right? And you can have free will on which side you want to be in. Except King George, snuck us all into his side, and we're not over in the Republic. That's what I think happened. Okay, so now I got this piece of paper. It's like, okay, now how am I going to get this thing into a record, right? So one of the things I did is I wrote to the Bishop of Saginaw. I am Robert Allen Michael Ritluski, Christi Fidel, and fundamental interest of the Holy See. Now I am, the Pope said I am, the Pope said I am, the Pope said I am. He had his people put a seal on his paper for him, right? The embassy is speaking for the Pope. They represent the Pope, so that's the Pope. Pope said I'm in. So I'm hoping to get this guy to, hey, send it to the newspaper, whatever you guys need to do to make it a public record. I'm in receipt of the Apostolic Nuncio of the United States of America's written testimony that it is the duty of you or one of your subordinates to authenticate content sacramental record, right? Because that's what the guy had said in his reply to me. This stuff was done through the parish. Well, that means it would be somebody under my bishop, so I'll just go talk to him. Blah, 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 blah. Send it on to him. Okay? And I did that on, did I put a date on here? August 6th. I haven't heard from him yet. Well, I said, hey, I'm going to go to this was just yesterday. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the Kent County Administrator, Wayman Britt. Because now I am a taxpayer. I have a taxpayer license. Let me just quick get that because we can just tell that real quick and be done with it. Okay. Yeah. I got a license from the state of Michigan for Robert Allen Ritlewski at 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan 49341 8664, which is pretty much exactly the way it shows up on my operator's license. Sales tax license, account number TR2530258, which on other places they say that's my FEIN number also. Right? I applied for a license, I got a license. I talked about that in my last video, and I'm just going to have to leave it there or until my next video. But I got a license. Right? And that's the number. TR2530258. So I'm Robert Allen Ritlewski. I'm the taxpayer, care of my business at this official business address for that tax number. Right? So hey, I'm a taxpayer, my friend. If you notice, that license is just for one thing. Well, for a few things. Sales tax. Let's think about this. Who pays the sales tax? The end user. That would be you. That makes you the taxpayer. It makes the person that sold it the collector, but you're still a taxpayer. And anytime you deal in retail is where the sales tax is on. And the sales tax is the tax of the sovereign. It's the tax of the state. That and use taxes. But I'm going to say the use taxes are the tax of the federal government. And so you're already paying them. You're just not taking credit for having paid them. You didn't register with Caesar for the tax. Right? You didn't go for the census in Bethlehem. And that's all you're doing. If you're going to engage in commerce, commerce is by the Constitution is under the Congress, and the Congress says you got to have a license, you got to have a license. And retail is commerce. You're doing business. You're the buyer. It takes two parties to contract. You're the buyer. You're doing business. Get a license. Man, some idiot last week, he's all over the place about this. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What a zipperhead. Okay. Can I get rid of some of these? Probably. That one can go. So, Kent County, here we go. Every matter may be established by testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. I got 2, but I want the trifecta. Mr. Britt, I would greatly appreciate your assistance in compelling the competent civil authority witness my certified certificate of baptism and registering the same as a vital record in state and nation. By faith, I was reborn a new creature. The Bishop of Rome has made it clear that a certificate of baptism is documentary evidence of this rebirth. His ministers from the Apostolic Nunciature in the United States have authenticated the blessed event of my baptism, September 18, 1958, on his behalf. Right? They didn't do it for themselves, they did it for the Pope. The Bishop of Rome has acknowledged I am a fundamental interest of the Holy See and entitled to the patrimony he is charged with stewarding in the holy name of Jesus. Can you please see to this acknowledgement on behalf of the state? Kent County is the administrative arm of the state, and as the county's administrator, my request seems within your job description and civil duty. And as it is quite possible the United States has certain duties under its international agreements with the Holy See, please see that the proper functionaries are alerted and acknowledge their duty under international law. I do not believe my patrimony can pass through the international financial system for my use and enjoyment until the omission in the vital records is corrected. As the Vicar of Christ has already rendered his decision in this matter, it would be a crime against the security, fundamental interest, and patrimony of the Holy See for public officials to not cooperate with him in his solemn duty to carry out the will of the Lord. I look forward to the swift execution of this simple clerical task and eagerly await proper notice of the same. You would think it would be that simple. Hey, there's my certificate. True copy of the original. Yes, sir. All I want you to do, brother, is make that a vital record in the competent civil authorities registry. Okay, so that was to get it registered. But what else could I do with it? While I had it sitting here, it's like, well, what can you do with this paper, Bob? Well, I know what I was going to do. I was going to complain. I spent 8 years in the Army, so I did all of my mandatory service on active duty. When you sign up for the military, you got an 8-year commitment. I did all mine on active duty. I earned the right to complain. I know I have. They know I have. So they don't bother me. I can complain. I just can't be violent. I can complain all I want. I can send what I want, say what I want. They're not going to bother me. I'm a veteran of the United States Army. So I'm the taxpayer again, and I'm going to write to the Attorney General, the Office of Attorney General. This is in Michigan. I'm going to say identity theft, unlawful conversion of property, tax fraud, deprivation of rights under color of law of Robert Allen Retluski, the taxpayer and owner of Robert Allen Retluski, sales tax number. Got it? Me, I'm the owner. I'm the taxpayer. I'm going to claim to my Attorney General. Dear Mr. Attorney General, I, Robert Allen Retluski, taxpayer, declare I truly believe that after I recently registered as the owner of the sole proprietorship Robert Allen Retluski with the Michigan Department of Treasury, I became aware it had been previously registered by individuals unknown to me, apparently as part of an identity theft scheme that has resulted in the unlawful conversion of my private property to the use of others. The pseudonym, Robert A. Retluski, is being used as a legal fiction to replace my full legal name as the owner of Robert Allen Retluski and Social Security account 374506794 without my consent. Evidence is found by logging into Michigan Treasury Online and the owner's officers partners list. Robert A. Retluski is not my full legal name, and I did not authorize its use. I do not know its origin. Robert A. Retluski is used to steal my identity as rightful owner of the business, Robert Allen Retluski, and its accounts previously registered with and managed by the Michigan Department of Treasury. The use of this legal fiction is done without my prior knowledge or consent. Exhibit 1, Certificate of Baptism. Exhibit 2, Sales Tax Registration. Exhibit 3, A and B. Some forms. And Exhibit 4, Filed Authorization Representative Declaration appointing myself. Clearly, this tax license account was established in the Michigan Department of Treasury under Robert A. Retluski as early as 2015. The Attorney General's investigation is sure to uncover a much earlier date of initial registration. I'll explain in just a second. It is also clear that the legal fiction Robert A. Retluski, the alleged owner of record, has failed to file annual returns for this business, which has most certainly resulted in a levy or lien against my property and the presumption that I, Robert Allen Retluski, the property owner, am evading filing business tax returns, and that prior year's account deposits are being held as abandoned property. This scheme has resulted in the unlawful conversion of my property to the use of others. The Michigan Department of Treasury has not acknowledged the authorized representative declaration I filed by fax with the department, and as of today, the 11th, that was just a couple days ago, I, Robert Allen Retluski, am still not listed as owner or representative. I ask the Office of Attorney General investigate this matter and determine for the official record the rights, titles, and interests of myself, Robert Allen Retluski, taxpayer, in the business, Robert Allen Retluski, and Social Security account 374506794, and compel the civil authority to acknowledge my certificate of baptism as a public profession of faith, registering the same as a vital record in this state and international jurisdictions. I declare the statements above to be true to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, dated August 11, 2017. Yes, I do. And you know what? I like to send them, because I can, CC, because I'm doing all this by email, to this Overwatch place out of Vatican City State. Right? Just real quick on them. Let's see here. Where are you? Where are you guys? You're right here. The Financial Information Authority is the competent authority of the Holy See, Vatican City State for fighting money laundering and financing of terrorism. I say that's what they're doing. They've stole my identity, take my property, and that's how they're financing terrorism. And the only thing that these people oversee, list of supervised entities, Institute of Works or religion. Hey, that would be that thing called the Vatican Bank that people say has its fingers and everything. So if its fingers are there, then these boys have jurisdiction. And so I'd like to make them aware of what's going on here in America. And this time it was a complaint, right? So they know now. I've complained to Bill Schuette, Attorney General, Office of the Attorney General, State of Michigan. And I gave him some exhibits. Well, there's that certificate of baptism again. Yeah, so I can use it. I use it for that. Hey, here's my state tax registration notice. I'm a registered taxpayer. So when I did this, so now understand, I just did this on like the 31st of July, and I get this license, and it said you can access your existing MTO account, or you will have to, or you would need to register your business to begin using Treasury Electronic Services. Hey, I did at this place. Excuse me. Well, so I log in for the first time into this electronic system, and I have mail waiting for me. And I open these things up. Now this has a notice date August 7th. So I should go check my mail. It may be in the mailbox right now. For tax year 2015. Well, I just did it on the 31st of July. How is it I have a tax year ending 2015 that I'm responsible for? Or that Robert Allen Rutluski is responsible for? And I've never heard of it before. They never ever sent me a thing and said, hey, you need to send a return for Robert Allen Rutluski. And the only return I ever got was for Robert A., middle initial Rutluski, the dude I don't want to be. Apparently, I was supposed to be filling one out for Robert Allen Rutluski, this business, under TR 2530258, which is also the FEIN number. Where it says, our records show we have not received your sales, use, and withholding tax annual return for the tax year shown above. Well, so I went and copied one and put zeros on it and sent it to them. Say, here you are. I didn't collect any tax. I paid the damn tax. That frickin' form is about, well, how much tax did you collect and did you send it to us? I didn't collect any tax. I'm the taxpayer, not the collector. Well, and there's one for 2016. I said, okay, so if I do these and send them in, the form they wanted, this is the notice, and send the form in, well, then that should release any levy or lien if there's any property being held that should be coming to me and allow it to come on through. So I'm waiting to see what shows up. And I also did an authorized representative declaration, right, for the business under that TR number with that address and that email address and that phone number, and that I revoke. I'll represent myself. And I appointed myself as a representative. So it could have been that I didn't have to fill this out because I said I'd represent myself. But I did, but it was still for me. So it's like, okay, I'm going to represent myself. I got the same address. I'm going to do everything. Here it is, been filled out. So I'm just waiting for them to accept it. And apparently they haven't accepted it yet because when I go online to my site, for me, it still shows Robert A. Rutluski as being the owner. And it doesn't list anybody as being the representative. Well, I've asked the Attorney General of the state of Michigan to look into it. And having gone that far, it's like, okay, I got all this done. What else can I do? And I remembered, you know what? I just said it's tax fraud. I'm going to go to TIGTA. Which is the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. And so I did. And basically, I just took everything I just showed you and added this letter on top and sent it to him. Dear Mr. Inspector General, I, Robert Allen Orlowski, taxpayer, declare I truly believe that my identification has been stolen, the assets of my sole proprietorship, Robert Allen Orlowski, with FEIN of, right, that FEIN number, has been unlawfully converted to the use of others. This is not the first time, nor even the second time I have complained to TIGTA about the status of my private property, its unlawful conversion, associated tax evasion, even the funding of terrorist organizations. My most recently was complaint 71-1606-0027-C in 2016, which I did. I sent a complaint, an official complaint, and got a complaint number. I got a call from a special agent of TIGTA over the phone. They took my oath, but they didn't do anything. I have asked for an audit by the IRS, met with 2 of your special agents. They bought me 3 cups of coffee. I have asked for an investigation, filed a whistleblower complaint, complained to the Secretary of Treasury, General Counsel, Priya Iyer. Dear Mr. Inspector General, what is your excuse for not investigating? I now offer even more evidence in the form of a complaint I sent to the Michigan Office of Attorney General, which is incorporated into this, your third notice of my rights, titles, and interests in my private property being violated and concealed while others unlawfully convert my property to their own use. Take judicial notice. It has been certified that I am a fundamental interest of the Holy See. And in the name of Jesus Christ, I order you to investigate this deprivation of rights under color of law that violates Federal Law 18 U.S.C. 242, the Constitution of the United States, the common law, the Lieber Code, international public law, the laws of Vatican City State, and the law of God, and bring the enemies of God who disrespect the patrimony of the Holy See to a righteous judgment. God is watching you in judgment. If you're not up to the task, then retire. Either way, you or your replacement need to see to my relief and restoration of my rights, titles, and interests in the property God provided for my use and enjoyment. I declare statements above true and correct. I true to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Took that, put it on top of the other one, sent it over to him. Right? So, who knows what that's going to do? But Monday is tomorrow, and that's when I'll get some idea. But in the meantime, what else could I do? And for that, I got to stop for just a second. Okay, now, sure, hit the right button. Hey, any city, I don't really care, city, county, whatever, properly formed, would have a registry and should be able to register my baptismal certificate. And as it turns out, there is a city the size of North America. It's a church of 3 councils, of the first 3 councils. And, well, let's just see what that could mean for us. So, hang on. Where are you? Constitution of the Orthodox-Catholic Church of America. The founding document of this church is the original statement of principles, faith, and doctrine of discipline issued on January 1st, 1910 by an archbishop with approval of another bishop. We are in fundamental agreement with this document. In 1915, the church's jurisdiction received its first civil law incorporation, issued in the state of Illinois under the title American Catholic Church, under the authority of its president, Archbishop. In 1973, the Secretary of State of the state of Illinois granted a request by the church president, Archbishop, to retitle the corporation as the Orthodox Catholic Church of America. incorporated in Illinois. See, that's from parenthesis to quote, right? So that would all have been part of the name. However, in 1982, the President Archbishop petitioned for a charter of incorporation in the state of Indiana, which charter was granted and is still in effect as the Orthodox Catholic Church of America. So most churches that you see or that you think is a church it's a 501c3 corporation. It's a private foundation. Could be it's a corporate soul, but it's meant for a person. It's not meant for the congregation, right? It's not a corporation for everybody. It's not a municipal corporation. It's a federal freaking nonprofit organization. But if you get a charter from a state, charters are issued by the legislature. And that's how cities become cities, is they get a charter from the legislature. And so they petitioned for a charter in the state of Indiana, and it is in effect. Articles of the Constitution, the church organization, government, and administration is the Orthodox Catholic Church of America, hereafter referred to as the church. It is a self-governing, autocephalous Orthodox and Catholic confession of faith within the one holy, Catholic, and Apostolic Church as described in the Nicaea-Constantinople Creed. So if you can live by the Nicaea-Constantinople Creed, you could be a member of this church, which is actually a municipal corporation under charter from the state of Indiana. The worship of God in the Holy Trinity, the proclamation and continuing of the Orthodox faith as taught in Holy Scripture, the Apostolic tradition, that'd be the Apostolic See, and the 7 ecumenical councils of the undivided ancient Church of Christ, the providing for a central national organization for the development of independent members, that would be us. How do we develop? Well, first we needed to be born and recognized, and their association according to applicable civil and ecclesiastical laws, and their associations according to applicable civil and ecclesiastic laws. The church is and shall remain a self-governing church, jurisdiction, ecclesiastic jurisdiction, church jurisdiction, lowercase church. What does lowercase church mean? That could be a territory. As canonically confirmed on January 1st, 1910. So that would, to me, means, well, some pope decided they could do this. It is an autocephaly, similar in structure to the patriarchates of Constantinople, Antioch, Alexander, Jerusalem, and all other self-governing Orthodox churches in the world. The church has jurisdiction in its own name and right in the whole of, get this now, the United States of America and North America. It has its jurisdiction is as large as North America. The church exists and functions as a nonprofit organization according to its charter and that of the proper civil authority. That would be the competent civil authority. The church consists of an archdiocese together with subsidiary regional dioceses and its particular parishes, missions, religious communities, all of whose members share a common belief, purpose, moral unity, but not a legal relationship. So they have territorial jurisdiction, not necessarily personal. But still, they have jurisdiction over the territory, and they're a competent legal civil authority in that territory. So I want them to take my paperwork and put it in their book. Right? I believe that this is the church we're supposed to go to, or the civil authority that's here for, if you want to agree that you're a Christian, and can live by the Nicaea Creed. And it goes on and on and on. Property. The church may acquire real personal property, establish, maintain funds, trusts, accept donations, legacies, trusts, bequests, moral units within the church. Well, what would a moral unit be? It'd be like a family. May do likewise so long as the units act in accordance with the stated purposes and beliefs of the church organization under the administrative authority already described. So once you're in, you can own property, have a trust, have accounts, have all that stuff, and they're not going to mess with it. It shall, however, be the policy of this church to maintain for the Archdiocese a chancery fund for use and disbursement of the Metropolitan Archbishop. The Archdiocesan Treasurer shall keep records according to norms established according to the practices and civil laws where applicable. The Treasurer is working under the civil law of the state of Indiana. Sorry, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Resuming, the Orthodox Catholic Church shall exist perpetually. Well, that's what charters do. They make you perpetual. Right? This is a civilly recognized entity, self-governing. That makes it a municipality. Right? It doesn't have to have all the powers of a sovereign state. It just needs to share in the powers of a sovereign state. And so, you know how it does that? It's got a seal from the state of Indiana. That's what I believe. And it goes through all their canons, right? So this is easy enough to find. It's just called the Orthodox Church, Orthodox Catholic Church of America. But we're not quite done. Let's look at the background a little bit. Let's see what's going on. The Orthodox Catholic Church of America is part of the Universal Church. Well, that's the Catholic Church. Universal and Catholic are the same word, by virtue of receiving its episcopacy from the Syrian Orthodox Jacobite Patriarch of Antioch through the Jacobite Syrian Orthodox Church of India. That's where St. Thomas went. Right? Thomas the Apostle. Velate's consecration as an archbishop for North America, for what's his jurisdiction? North America, was accorded to the Latin Rite. And who's the Latin Rite? Well, that means the Pope agreed. And he continued. That's that canonical agreement they talked about in the other one. The Pope agreed. And he continued to use this rite for the rest of his life. Before he could be consecrated, he was examined and had to make a confession of faith acceptable to the Jacobite Patriarch bishops who authorized and performed his consecration. Such a confession of faith would have been based on the teachings of the councils preceding that of Chalcedon. This means that in our origins we are a church of the three councils, not a church of the seven councils, as some Orthodox churches are. A church of the three councils. Yeah, I'll read a little bit more. What do we mean when we say a church of the three councils? The Jacobite Church and the Oriental Christianity in general came into being when the Council of Chalcedon was held in 451. The Oriental and non-Chalcedonian churches, currently these include Armenian, Coptic, Ethiopian, Jacobite, were unable to agree with the Byzantine and Latin churches at the Council of Chalcedon in 451 on the dogmatic definitions of Christ. In particular, they objected to the phrase in Greek that Jesus Christ was fully God and fully human. Translated into Aramaic, this reads as if Christ were two separate people living in one body, a significant error according to the Oriental churches. They share the idea of God-man, Jesus, but using different languages to express it. Like a rope made of inextricably bound threads which are still different, they consider his godhood and his humanity to be bound together. Theologically, there is little difference, but at the time there were many political forces involved, and both the Byzantine and the Latin were still Roman in the minds of the Oriental churches. With a great deal of freedom in being counted among the Oriental churches, there is a great deal. Many of the problematic benefits and practices of Roman and Eastern Orthodox Christianity are based on councils, including the Council of Chalcedon. So what did the first three councils agree on? Okay, so this is all you need to agree with. Nicaea, 325, repudiated Arianism and adopted the original Nicene Creed, fixed Easter's date, recognized primacy of the sees of Rome, Alexandria, Antioch, and granted the See of Jerusalem a position of honor. Constantinople repudiated Arianism and Macedonianism, revised the Nicene Creed in regard to the Holy Spirit. And Ephesus repudiated Nestorianism, proclaimed the Virgin Mary as the Theotokos, birth giver to God, God-bearer, mother of God. Right? Repudiated Pelagianism and reaffirmed the Nicene Creed. The remaining four councils plus one that are often considered ecumenical among the Orthodox churches and are taken as a basis of Orthodox faith, in fact, add a little to these central truths, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we had a tiff. The tiff happened between 431 and 451. But before that, everybody had already agreed to these. And they never did change those. It's just some added some more. These guys stopped here. And so, if you can abide by the Nicene Constantinople Creed, you're in to win. And they have apostolic succession. Simply speaking, apostolic succession is the tracing of lineage from bishop to bishop back through time to one of the apostles. From the earliest apostolic times, this has been a mark of continuity with and faithfulness to the apostolic teaching and the sacramental churches regarded as a key element of their church organization. It is often used to verify that a group in question has true sacraments, although this notion can be wrongly turned into some kind of magic formula. None of our acts can compel the Holy Spirit's presence or absence. The Holy Spirit is like smoke. He just shows up when he wants and goes away. In this connection, it is worth noting that for several centuries, the Church of Alexandria, while undoubtedly apostolic and orthodox, not only elected its bishops from among the presbyters, but the presbyters consecrated the new bishop instead of calling upon other bishops to do so. This demonstrates that a purely mechanical view of apostolic succession is both historically and doctrinally inadequate and obscures the larger meaning of this valuable tradition. In other words, to be a bishop, you needed to be consecrated by a bishop. Actually, by three. 3 bishops were supposed to lay hands on you. The Orthodox Catholic Church of America traces our apostolic succession back through our founding Metropolitan Archbishop Timotheus, through India to Syria, and ends in the foundation of the Antioch, where St. Peter was bishop before he moved to Rome. Did you know that St. Peter was actually the bishop of 2 of the 5 patriarchs of the church? He formed Antioch and was its bishop before he went to Rome. He's the first bishop of Antioch. And so when they go and talk to the Pope, well, the Pope they don't tell you this, but he's the bishop he's the patriarch of Rome, and he's a patriarch of Antioch. But these guys didn't get their succession through the Bishop of Rome. They got it through the Bishop of Antioch, which just happens to be the same guy wearing two hats. Here we are, the world of two hats. Comes all the way up to Pope Francis. The Jacobite Syrian Orthodox Church was separated from the Western and Eastern churches when it refused to sign decrees. 451. Persecuted by the Byzantine Church, they also refused. That also refused are the persecuted by the Byzantine imperial authorities. These members of the ancient church of Antioch were sustained by the bishop of Edessa, Janus, or Jacob Barbarus, so they became Jacobites. Henceforth, the term Jacobite. Bishops in the Syrian-speaking churches are traditionally referred to as Mar, which means Lord, and their name. More about the apostolic succession of the Jacobite church can be found here. Well, let's go here. Traditionally, lists of patriarchs have been drawn in a spiral form. Such a spiral can be found on the patriarchal throne of Dario di Mor Hananoia. As it is not uncommon with historical account sources of the chronological list, patriarchs differ on dates. Blah, blah, blah. Who's number one? St. Peter the Apostle. He was actually the bishop of Antioch from 37 to 67. For 30 years, he was the bishop of Antioch. So Pope Francis, who's the epitome of St. Peter, not the Bishop of Rome, but St. Peter, right? That succession, that puts him over this church as the Bishop of Antioch, not necessarily as the Bishop of Rome. And so he's able to do both at one time. And so the Latin Church, on my baptismal certificate, it doesn't show anywhere, even on this one that I just got certified, that I'm in the Latin Church. So what church am I in? Well, I believe I'm in the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And so do these guys. The Latin churches here in America are set up as 501c3 corporations. They don't have any municipal powers. These guys do. I do believe. Come on, man, let's go. Where did it say that? Where's your Constitution? Right. This church has jurisdiction in its own name, and right in the whole of the United States of America and in North America. Where the worship center that I went to doesn't have rights to anything. It's a corporation. It's a dead entity. And so my certificate doesn't say on there that I'm in the Latin Church. It's supposed to now because Pope Francis passed that law, motu proprio, in 2016, September 15th, 2016. Although it shows up on the list as the last day of May 2016 on the Vatican website. In its own name and right in the whole of the United States of America and in North America. Well, these guys have to have a register. They talked about the treasurer doing things by the civil law. All right, so then apparently they can tax. I don't know if they can tax or not. They can do something because they got civil law rights. All I need them to do is acknowledge my certificate of baptism as a municipal corporation / sharer of the sovereign powers of one of the states of the United States, and man, I'm in the win. I think everybody else may want to look into doing it. But we shouldn't overwhelm these guys. I'm just pointing out, I don't believe they know this. I don't think they know about the Social Security account and that your name is actually a business, like I just shown, right? But it is. And I think that if you haven't, yet, you should today or soon go take a look at this website and read this stuff and see if you can agree with it. Hey, we'll see what happens next week. But for today, I'm going to leave that where it is. Right? That's what I wanted to talk about. Those were the things. Did we cover them all? A city the size of North America and the church of 3 councils. Hey, they happen to be the same thing. Whether it's a city on the hill, the one talked about in Revelation, I don't know. But it's the size of North America. That's pretty big. We talked about a hearing to determine if attorney engaged in the deprivation of rights under color law. We'll find out on Wednesday, the 16th, unless they change the date. And what can you do with an authenticated certificate of baptism? Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. But the way you get one, right, if you're a Catholic like myself, you contact your parish and tell them you want to have it legalized and tell them you believe it needs to go to the Apostolic Nunciature and right, that the charge d'affaires needs to certify it. Blah, 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 blah. If you're not, I don't think you need to go there. I think you need to go to the church where you were baptized from and tell that dude to legalize it. Right? But once that's done, that's the church agreeing, and the church isn't, right? You've got separation of church and state, except for one, where it's not the state, but it's a city, and it's the size of the North America. And so I've sent it to them. And, well, we'll see what they have to say. If you can, please donate. I got to keep the lights on until somebody does something. But soon after, well, then I won't have that problem. And nobody has to donate. You'll just be able to give to whoever you want to help them come to the understanding that we don't need to live in this crazy-ass system. Where, I'm listening to Alex Jones a little bit today, and he's talking, what happened in Virginia yesterday is going to cause martial law. Brother, it's already here. We've been under martial law since 1863. Go look at the flags in the courtroom. Gold fringe flag. It's an Army flag. No, it is not a Navy flag. You got a fucking thing to do with the Navy. It's an Army flag. It's called the national color. And it can only fly in a courtroom that is a military tribunal. That flag's flying in there, as a judge told a man who asked, what's the significance of the gold fringe flag? Well, that means we have to enforce the federal law. Then make him do it. Okay, y'all have a great day. Hope you got something out of this. I'm sure we'll talk soon. See ya.